part of the issues that Native people face are how do you balance, that cultural history, that orientation to the natural world with a orientation that operates through Western science that is very different, coming from a very different place, very different worldview. That conflict also plays over into Native governments and Native governance, as a whole, in the sense that Native governance is really about how do you bring together these two very disparate ways of knowing community, of being in the world. And so the governance piece is a very important piece of this, and certainly we have been looking at, how do we bring together some sort of balance with regard to the whole notion and practice of leadership in the context of government, and in indigenous government particularly. Because it's a complex issue, in terms of balancing the contemporary needs of indigenous communities today, economic development, social development, health, with these orientations of culture and tradition that we carry with us and that we hold so dear. Traditional knowledge is there's 4 directions to traditional knowledge. One is the knowledge that we have that is transferred from generation to generation, which is our knowledge of self and community and history and tradition. There's the knowledge that we have a place in which we live, which is commonly called traditional ecological knowledge, and that's very specific to tribes and places that they have developed in and evolved in. And some tribes move from different places to other places, so it's actually a very rich history, to trace traditional ecological knowledge and where certain kinds of thoughts and perspectives and orientations have come from. And then we have, our dream traditions, our ceremonial traditions, our ritual traditions, which is again another form of knowledge. And the 4th direction, is what I call contemporary knowledge, and that's where education, modern education comes into play, which includes science education, which includes all of the different kinds of disciplines and perspectives that you can engage in higher education and education as a whole. And so it's kind of our newest domain of education. It has its own history, beginning with the boarding schools and extending to today's expression of Indian education, and it's evolving in and of itself. But in that there is this whole piece of science and technology that we are still very much engaged in trying to figure out and trying to balance, with the other 3 forms of knowledge that I've just mentioned.